I call the member for Newtown to move her motion.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I move that this House calls on the government, in the interests of good governance and financial accountability, to suspend all activity on the WestConnex project until the full business case and environmental impact statement are made public. You're going to just agree now? Right now, at the Alexandria landfill or the Dialer dump site, work has already begun on a site with improper safety assurances to the community. Why unsafe work with asbestos-ridden trucks driving through our community is happening without an environmental impact statement is completely unclear to me. At a meeting in the electorate of Newtown on Monday night, one member of the community expressed his serious concern about the WestConnex project, saying that basically the project appeared to be a cover of a way of transferring significant amounts of public money into private hands under the guise of a road project. What else could people think in a scenario where the government refuses to release the business case or the environmental impact statement and plans? The total budget for this project has blown out to $15.4 billion. A $500 million increase in the budget this year and a 50% increase from when it was first announced. To be clear, that is $450 million per kilometre. To put that in perspective for our Nationals colleagues, that is double the amount promised in this budget per kilometre what was promised for the upgrade of Country Rail. The community, the public and the people whose interests we are elected here to serve are not asking for much today. What they are asking for is to see the business case and to see the environmental impact statement before any planning or construction or activities go ahead. It became clear that the Minister for Planning hasn't even seen the environmental impact statement yet. It seems that the Minister for Planning has not seen it, and while the Minister for Transport said that the business case would be released in July, for those I might note that actually it's now August, we still haven't seen the business case that the Minister for Transport, who has the unfortunate job, I do not envy him, of representing the Minister for Roads in this place. We see that the New South Wales Auditor-General has released a report on the WestConnex project and has said that the process applied to the WestConnex project provide independent assurance to the government and did not meet best practice standards. The Auditor-General went on to say that there is a fundamental conflict of interest in the arrangement that is set up with how the WestConnex Delivery Authority are going about this massive infrastructure project. Since then, we have not seen any actions taken by the WestConnex Delivery Authority or the Roads Minister to improve the faith that the public has in this project. Already, $3 billion of contracts have been signed despite the fact that no planning approval has been granted yet for this project. We are seeing this government undermine their own processes, their own gateway processes set by your Department of Treasury, the own planning process set by your Department of Planning and Environment, to go ahead and have the Roads Minister Duncan Gay signing off on billion-dollar contracts while the community is left in the dark, and yet the own processes are not followed. But it's not just about the money that is actually an issue here. You can laugh, but there are people in that gallery, and I asked the member for Parramatta and the member for Drummoyne to have a look. There are people in that gallery who are losing their homes. There are people who have had their homes acquired. There are people who are suffering because of the noise of the construction and pre-construction works that are already going on. There are communities losing their endangered areas and habitats and the risk to endangered species as a result of construction that is happening, plans that are being put in place, contracts that are being signed without a business case being released publicly and without an environmental impact statement. I am talking about families who will no longer be able to live in the area of St Peters because the RMS is treating them appallingly, not providing them with market values for the loss of their homes, and they will now have to move their children from the local schools and live in another area. I am talking about residents in Kingsgrove that will live next to unfiltered stacks who have not been informed by the WestConnex Delivery Authority what is going on. These are real people that are having real impacts because of this government's complete arrogance when it comes to wanting to talk up delivering what is allegedly a world-class polluting motorway, when in actual fact they are refusing to provide the public or this House with any evidence of the fact that this is a justified project. What we are seeing across the board is a government that is intent on destroying people's lives and destroying our communities for some reason that is actually unclear. It is unclear to us why the government is committing to $15.4 billion to spend on a motorway when there has been no public consultation as to why $15.4 billion is the best way to solve congestion. I would welcome to be part of a conversation with this government of saying, if we spent $15.4 billion, if we spent $15.4 billion on something to address Sydney's congestion needs, what would it be? Let's have that conversation. We can't have that conversation because the government will not release its business case. In recent times, we have seen road projects in Sydney and other cities turn into financial disasters. The WestConnex Delivery Authority and the Roads and Maritime Services have entered into contracts with companies such as Parsons, Brickenhoff and ACOM that have recently settled lawsuits for allegedly either reverse engineering traffic studies in the instance of the Lane Cove Tunnel or providing inadequate and incomplete traffic data for the Clem 7 project in Brisbane. These are the contracts that our government is signing without a business case and without proper planning approval. In another case, we're seeing that ACOM has won contracts for both the administration of the environmental impact statement process as well as contracts that will benefit from the construction of WestConnex. If that is not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. So what do? When we see the independent reports that we see cannot justify this project, when we see that there is a threat in my home area of 24-hour clearways, and we see that this government is refusing to share with the people what the justification for this project is. You know in this House what my position is on the WestConnex project. It is clear that there is growing community concern against this whole polluting tollway. But this motion is simply asking for two things. It is asking for all construction and activity to halt when it comes to the WestConnex project until the government has released the business case and until we have seen the environmental impact statement. That is good governance. That is open and transparent government, and I call on the government to recognise that it is the only way forward.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. Doesn't she look angelic?
Who?
Jodie always looks angelic when she seeks the call.
Right, you've got to put an
Chair
amendment.
to make a call.
Right, you've got to put an amendment to amend the government.
Later. Plenty of time. Rest easy, friends.
Rest easy. Be nice. Play nice.
I appreciate the concern in the gallery over this motion, but I ask that you remain silent during the proceedings of this debate. The question is that the motion is moved by the member for Newtown be agreed to. I call the member for Parramatta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to put the government's viewpoint, some government's viewpoint on this, and the government opposes this motion as it's unnecessary and politically motivated. Being the member for Parramatta, people and being intimately aware of the needs of people in Western Sydney, one only has to sit in the traffic, in the congestion every day when they're on the M4, when they're on Victoria Road, to understand that this city is at times crippled with road congestion, and it's not only impacting on in terms of the $5 billion or plus impact on the economics of our city. But in terms of lifestyle, you spend hours a day, every day. People spend hours stuck in the traffic, whether it's on the bus, in the traffic, or in their own personal cars on the traffic. And what we have to do as a government is to alleviate the responsibility. And this government is all about busting up that congestion. And in fact, during the 2015 election, we went to the people with an open and transparent agenda for the poles and wires transaction, the lease of the poles and wires, to deliver $20 billion in terms of necessary infrastructure and investments in this state. People in Western Sydney know every day when they sit in that traffic and that congestion, something has to be done. Because as we know, in the next 10 years, there'll be an additional 1 million people will call Sydney home. And in fact, 1 million people over the next 20 years will be added to west of Parramatta, where my electorate is. And the roads, if we don't do anything, Mr. Speaker, will only get more crowded. More people, more businesses, more freight using our transport. It's just not economic problems that it's creating, it's those to the lifestyle and time better spent that those people can spend with their families. Tomorrow Sydney needs new infrastructure, as I said, new roads, new public transport, new hospitals and schools and new motorways. Tomorrow Sydney needs a government that will invest in the future, a government that recognises the needs to address the population growth and congestion with real solutions. Tomorrow Sydney needs community representatives who are willing to examine the projects that will provide these solutions on their merit and helps communities to consider them thoughtfully. Tomorrow Sydney needs new train lines. Tomorrow Sydney needs new light rail services. Tomorrow Sydney needs the WestConnex motorway. And the alternative is bleak. Do we sit there and put our head in the sand and think that traffic congestion will go away? That's not an option for this government. This is a government that wants to get on and do things. To meet this challenge, the New South Wales government is investing more than $60 billion in infrastructure over the next 4 years for tomorrow Sydney, including new public transport projects such as the Sydney Metro and the new motorway links such as the M4 East and the new M5 Stage 1 and 2 of WestConnex. When Stage 3 of WestConnex when it is complete, motorists will be able to continue seamlessly into the Stage 3, M4, M5 link to widen the extended M4 as well as to the future Western Harbour Tunnel. WestConnex network will transform how Sydney-siders travel and connect and do their business. WestConnex will benefit the people of Sydney and New South Wales and work alongside the much needed public transport infrastructure upgrades this government is delivering to keep our city moving as essential elements of tomorrow's Sydney. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately this motion by the Greens lacks credibility. No matter what we do as a government, the Greens are openly opposed to WestConnex. No matter what the business case will say, they are opposed. So this is a politically motivated stance that the Greens have taken. No matter what the EIS will say, they're going to oppose it. It's unfortunately it's a politically motivated stance. It's just a smokescreen. We on this side of government aren't going to stand still and let Sydney choke in congestion. And I say to those people, and there's some good publicly, civically minded people in the gallery today who are listening to this and taking good interest, and I commend them on their interest in the future. But the people of Western Sydney, when they wake up and they don't have access to the CBD, when they stand there into traffic for hours and hours, trying to get into their jobs, I say to them, we're going to build this motorway so that we reduce the congestion, reduce the impact of their lives. People in Western Sydney, many people, some 90%, have to use a car to get to work every day. Unfortunately, cars are a fact of life for the people living in Western Sydney, Mr. Speaker. And yes, we do need other forms of transport. Yes, we do need to invest in trains, in light rail, in ferries. There is a multitude of things we need. This is one part of the solution. WestConnex is one part of the solution. For people in Parramatta, it's especially important because it will connect Parramatta, and it's starting at Parramatta. We've already started Stage 1 in Parramatta, very proud of that. The Premier and Duncan Gay were out there to start demolition works. We're going to connect Parramatta to the airport, the international gateway. We're going to reduce 52 sets of traffic lights, reduce travel time by 40 minutes. It will open up Parramatta to a new level of economic development, Mr. Speaker. businesses will be able to locate in Parramatta and be very close to that international gateway. It'll be allow the residents to go into the city, travel into the city in reduced time, better time that they're spent with their families. We are, Mr. Speaker, taking up the long neglected infrastructure challenge of many decades of anyone only has to drive along the M4 to see that it abruptly ends at Concord there, and it becomes, in the mornings and in the afternoon, a car park, the Leong car park. This government has taken up that long neglected challenge. We have record levels of investment in public transport and road infrastructure. We're delivering a complete transport solution for the people of Greater Sydney. WestConnex is an integral component of the New South Wales Government's major infrastructure package to effectively manage Sydney population growth, something, Mr. Speaker, we can't ignore. WestConnex will deliver more than $20 billion of benefits to New South Wales and play an important role in supporting Sydney's expected population growth of 1.6 million people over the next 20 years. Mr. Speaker, this is one part of a record investment for the state in terms of infrastructure. I commend the state for also their investments in NorthConnex and in the other projects in Parramatta, including the light rail and the looking at the ring road around Parramatta.
Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The question is that the motion is moved by the member for Newtown be agreed to. I call the the opposition spokesman and member for Strathfield.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I want to thank the member for Newtown for bringing this motion to the House, and we will support this motion. While the opposition understands the importance of improving travel into the CBD for the people of Western Sydney, we believe the gross mismanagement of this project is at such a level that this project must be paused until the business case and EIS are released. It is staggering that a $15.4 billion project, the largest infrastructure project in New South Wales, is progressing without the proper governance arrangements. Sound governance can determine whether a project succeeds or fails, according to a 2013 joint University of Melbourne Business School Caravel Group study. Poor project governance causes major projects to fail. The University of Melbourne study is ringing alarm bells about WestConnex. The governance deficiencies with this project are at a level not seen before. In October 2013, Minister Gay announced the creation of the WestConnex Delivery Authority to oversee the construction, financing and management of the motorway. The following year, in August 2014, the government created yet another organisation, the Sydney Motorway Corporation. The reason for creating a rival organisation for the same project was never properly explained or justified. The inevitable conflict between the two competing organisations commenced and a bureaucratic turf war got underway. As the Sydney Morning Herald described it, the conflict was about the Sydney Motorway Corporation asserting its right as financier to direct the way in which the WestConnex Delivery Authority planned the motorway. By the middle of this year, it was common knowledge that the governance of WestConnex had become totally dysfunctional. So in June, an announcement was quietly placed on the WestConnex website advising that the New South Wales Government had taken the opportunity to evolve the early governance model created to deliver WestConnex. The status of the WestConnex Delivery Authority is now unclear. Does it still exist or has it been abolished? The Minister has still not given a clear statement on this. The WestConnex website lists the members of the board of the Sydney Motorway Corporation, and it is clear there has been a significant purge. It has been the motorway's night of the long knives, with several members of the old WestConnex Delivery Authority being unceremoniously dumped from the project. Incredibly, the casualties of this bureaucratic power play include Peter Duncan, Chief Executive of the Roads and Maritime Service, and Tim Reardon, Secretary of Transport for New South Wales. They were on the WDA board, but they are not on the SMC. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is an amazing and concerning outcome. The state's largest transport project is now proceeding without the involvement of the state's two most important and senior transport officials. Stripping the board of a major infrastructure project of its subject matter experts is a dangerous thing to do. But this is just the latest in a long line of errors. For example, the Auditor General delivered its report on the WestConnex in December 2014. and advised that the preliminary business case was deficient and fell well short of the standard required. It was a damning report by the Auditor-General, with red flags raised on every important governance issue. The secrecy and lack of transparency surrounding WestConnex is cause for alarm. This is especially so given the amount of public money involved. It was first proposed in October 2012. It was $10 billion. By the time the WestConnex Delivery Authority was created, it was $11 billion, then $11.5 billion. By early 2015, it was $14.9 billion. And in the last budget, another lazy $500 million was thrown to the tap, with the cost of WestConnex now $15.4 billion. As the member said, the detailed design plans for the M4 East were recently released and the government has begun acquiring homes, but we have not seen the EIS or the business case. Labor believes that the government should immediately release the full and comprehensive business case for scrutiny and the EIS. The government must give a straightforward explanation of the board changes, and the government must provide detailed information on the roles of the Sydney Motorway Corporation, the WestConnex Delivery Authority, if it still exists, and the other committees that are involved in the governance of this project.
Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The question is that this motion, as moved by the member for Newtown, be agreed to. I call the member for Drummoyne.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I speak against this motion, and I hope my local newspaper picks up on this, that the member for Strathfield wants the WestConnex project to stop immediately. Shame. More congestion in the inner west for prolonged periods of time.
Release the business case in the
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the New South Wales Government considered and endorsed the original WestConnex business case, which was developed by a team of local and international experts in 2013. A business case executive summary has been publicly available since 2013, something that Labor and the Greens continually choose to ignore. This explains the fundamentals supporting the government's decision to go ahead with the WestConnex project. Now, it's disappointing to see residents and business owners and legitimate questions about important projects affecting their communities being sidetracked and sidelined by a collection of politically motivated agitators that continue to push their own that continually push their own agendas. This is totally disappointing. Now, I do want to speak on a number of other issues, like property acquisitions, which I'm very sympathetic towards, and I note that many probably residents in the gallery here would have some concerns about. But property acquisitions are unfortunately a necessary part of any modern day infrastructure project. I know that's no consolation, but WestConnex is no exception. It's no exception. Acquisitions, there are plenty in my electorate as well. There are plenty in my electorate as well. But as a good local member, you do your best to represent them and try to solve them. And that's exactly what I've been doing on an ongoing basis. Mr. Deputy Speaker, all stages of WestConnex are being designed to limit the impact on local communities and property owners. More than 50% of the project will be in tunnels, with existing road reservations used as much as possible where tunnels can come to the surface. Many properties being acquired for the project are within long-standing road reservations, land earmarked for future road developments for decades. However, there are quite a few. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there are quite a few property acquisitions that took place many years ago in the Haberfield area. I know a little bit better because I've been around a little bit longer than you have. However, as detailed intersections and alignment designs are finalised, some properties are required in areas which may not have been expected earlier on in the piece. Similarly, some properties previously flagged for acquisitions are now part of the project that weren't. And I understand the frustration. And I understand the frustration.
The member for Newtown, you'll
I
have your
understand these frustrations perfectly. They are perfectly legitimate. But in order to deliver the best project for the people of New South Wales, the most cost-effective project, the best project with the best design, things will change. It's a fact of life. And I do understand the legitimate concerns, and I've been dealing with quite a few of them in my electorate, particularly in the Concord area. And the example I give is one recently where a person had an operation and through no fault of his own, he's ended up in a wheelchair. The house has been totally adapted for that person, and he now has to look at moving. His property is part of that acquisition process. And we're doing our best as local members to actually deal with those issues. And I'm glad the WestConnex Authority has sympathetically dealt with a lot of these things. And in this particular case, for this person to move away from his networks and hospital would be would be terrible. And the WestConnex Authority is looking at trying to relocate that person nearby.
The member's time has expired. The question is that the motion as moved by the member for Newtown be agreed to. I call the member for Balmain.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.
I was
This
gonna say
motion to
something.
me is deja vu, because in my period on Leichhardt Council from 1999 to 2011, we fought tooth and nail Labor's proposal for the M4 East, a proposal they still support today, a proposal that Anthony Albanese, when in government, when it came to WestConnex, when it came to the M4 East, allocated billions of dollars. We know that federal Labor supported WestConnex through Minister Albanese and it was infrastructure, and now this government, this WestConnex project is getting them into an awful lot of trouble because there's huge internal turmoil in terms of the administration of it. The financial modelling for stage 3 isn't stacking up, and they are unable to justify the key claim that they make. What is their key claim? It will reduce traffic. Well, okay, show us. Show that it will reduce traffic. Demonstrate that to the community. Release the business case, release the EIS so we can make that determination. Because this is actually about the power of the infrastructure and finance industry peddling the myth that more capacity does not induce more demand. We know that the literature around the world, the academic literature demonstrates clearly, if you create more capacity and make it easier and faster for people to drive, more people drive. And when more people drive, more traffic comes about, and any increase in capacity that was introduced is reduced over time. And this case is even more important because both Labor and Liberal support putting the tolls back on the M4. And we've seen the modelling. That the only modelling that's been publicly available, which is for the SGS report from the City of Sydney, which has demonstrated that the tolls going back onto the M4 will actually induce more traffic onto Parramatta Road and more rat running. So we can see here that the City of Sydney report, which is the only public modelling, demonstrates this will not deliver the long-term traffic solution that the other side is claiming. And if what they're claiming is true, let's see the modelling. Let's interrogate the modelling. Any developer who puts forward a plan to a local government or to the state government has to demonstrate a traffic model that shows the impact. We can't get that from the biggest infrastructure project in this state's history. They won't deliver that because they know the justification simply is not there. Because if it was there, they'd be the first one releasing that, wouldn't they? They'd be the first ones releasing that business case saying, see, the evidence is clear. Because what they don't say as well is this project is actually about fleecing the people of Western Sydney. It's about putting the tolls back on the M4. It's about putting $10 up to $20 return fares for the people of Western Sydney. It doesn't give them independence. It locks them into dependence on the car and the fossil fuel industry because we're not providing the world-class public transport that every single cent of this money should be invested in. Now, we know as well that when it comes to this issue, the government's in trouble, but we're disappointed by Labor's position because the truth is that, as you know, before the election, they announced they would not only build WestConnex M4 widening project from Parramatta to Homebush, but they will also extend WestConnex through the city. They also plan to duplicate the M5 East, and that to us is a major problem because Labor's position at the moment is, well, the management's bad, we should pause it. We need to go to the heart of the evidence. The demonstrable fact is that building more capacity induces more demand. And if we don't settle with that issue, we don't address the facts, we will continually be building roads to nowhere. We'll be building bigger roads, which simply fill up over time. It simply builds up over time. So we need to be providing the right solutions for these communities. And we know that Labor has also said they're not going to, if they had won government, but they're not cancelling compulsory acquisitions, we're just pausing them. We're disappointed that, like the government, both of the major parties want to proceed with the M4 widening with no public scrutiny. They've got no transparency, no detailed business case. Both parties support the expansion of M4 M5. That should be opposed.
Jamie, you're against the bus lane on Parramatta Road, are you?
Order.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Order.
It's part of WestConnex.
It's not part of WestConnex.
The Parliamentary Secretary, a member for Drummoyne.
Kick him out.
Mr Speaker.
The question is that the motion, as moved by the member for Newtown, be agreed to. I call the Parliamentary Secretary
for Western Sydney.
For Western Sydney.
And the Premier. Chief Cook and Bottle Washer. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, I advise the House of my intention to amend the motion before the House by removing all words after this House and commends the New South Wales Government for investing more than $60 billion in infrastructure, including the WestConnex project, which will widen and extend the M4 and M5, ease traffic congestion, create jobs and connect the communities of Western Sydney.
And who playing political tactics with people's lives?
Mr Speaker, I advise the member that she has had her time and that I gave her the courtesy of being silent when she spoke, and I would expect the same courtesies
Order. The member for Summerhill.
to be offered to myself. Mr Deputy Speaker, can I first of all say that I commend the member for bringing the motion to the House and for supporting her community. I would expect nothing less, and as someone who certainly has advocated on behalf of my community in the past, on behalf of similar outcomes, on behalf of the acquisition of property through large-scale projects such as the upgrading of Windsor Road, through the Northwest Rail Link, which certainly runs directly through my electorate, and just adjoining my electorate certainly is the upgrading of WestConnex, another large-scale tunnelling project, of which promotes and provides challenges to all communities. Nobody denies that. You have the right to be heard, as do all residents of New South Wales, and so on that particular point we certainly agree. But to deny, Mr Deputy Speaker, to deny the fact that we need motorways across the Sydney metropolitan area is to deny the fact that 80% of our travelling and commuting public actually rely on their motor vehicles to get to and from work each day, to get back to their families each day, and at the very, very best, we can only ever hope to encourage 20% of a population to utilise public transport. However, in saying that, we are also a government that has invested very, very heavily in public transport. And I might just say on that particular point, Mr Deputy Speaker, that we are seeing traffic congestion of unprecedented limits at this point in time right across the Sydney metropolitan area, and that if the previous government had have stuck to just one of their rail project promises, just one of the dozens of rail project promises that they promised, whether that had been the Northwest Rail Link, whether it had been the Southwest Rail Link, whether indeed it had been the inner city metro, if it had just stuck for one moment to its promises, then we would not be seeing the massive congestion, the traffic congestion, and ultimately the pollution that we are seeing induced from particular vehicles that utilise our motorways. However, I would say this point in relation to perhaps the member for Strathfield. If the member for Strathfield was to go out and door knock her community today, I can absolutely guarantee there would be overwhelming support to remove the massive amount of traffic from Pennant Hills Road via a tunnel to allow that particular strip of Parramatta Road to be re-embellished, to bring those communities back together and through appropriate urban development provide the opportunity to have a better quality of life, to provide the opportunity through high density apartment and the appropriate urban development for people to live in an inner city lifestyle which they wish to do without being subjected to massive amounts of traffic that we are seeing, massive amounts of congestion that we are seeing currently on Parramatta Road. I know it certainly is always conjecture in relation to any large-scale projects that are proposed by government, and that there will be challenges ahead. I certainly hope we can work together for the betterment of all communities.
Mr Deputy Speaker, by
Order. The original motion was moved by the member for Newtown, upon which the member for Castle Hill has now moved an amendment. The question now is that the amendment be agreed to. Now, any further speakers will be by way of leave. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Is leave granted?
Leave's granted.
No.
Yeah, leave's granted.
Thanks.
Leave's granted. I call the member for Summerhill.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak against the amendment and for the motion moved by the member for Newtown, and thank her for bringing this forward. It's a very important debate for our Sydney community. Look, it's time to get real and expose WestConnex for what it is, and it's an attempt by this government to ram its obsession with cars and private enterprise on an unsuspecting Sydney. As I speak with residents across my electorate, they speak to me about the many issues that they face and their families face. They speak about our housing affordability crisis, with young people worried they're never going to own their own home. They speak about our overcrowded schools, the importance of protecting jobs and doing better to promote equity and fairness. They speak about our congested streets, about air pollution and the need to act on climate change. They share our vision for a kind of city they want to live in, a diverse and sustainable Sydney, a truly global city in every way. A city supported by a comprehensive public transport system, active transport corridors peppered with green and open space. But instead of building towards this city of the future, they're being let down by a government set in the past. At the heart of WestConnex is a complex problem. How can we support the millions of us who live in Western Sydney gain access to the city, and how can we get freight to the port, and how do we get better access to Kingsford Smith Airport? At the heart of this is an equity problem. It's a problem of fairness. Why should the people of Western Sydney spend hours stuck in traffic trying to get to work each day when they should have that precious time with their kids and their families? But despite what this government thinks, you can't solve a complex problem with a simple answer. And that's what they're very quickly discovering. This simple answer is unworkable, unwieldy and unwise. From the very beginning, the WestConnex project has been shambolic. Property owners were issued with acquisition notices, then told they weren't going to be acquired, and then they told they were going to be acquired after all. The tunnel was going to be under Parramatta Road, spurring a revitalisation of the corridor, but they're not. Instead, it's running under hundreds of homes in Croydon and Burwood instead. Over 180 properties, 122 of them in my electorate are being acquired. Many of them are stunning Federation homes in Haberfield, the world's first garden suburb. A proposed private hospital was served an acquisition notice. Then 2 weeks later, it was granted approval by the Department of Health. One hand of government doesn't know what the other one's doing. Home and business owners, after months in the dark, are now being offered valuations hundreds of thousands of dollars below market value, meaning they're never going to live in their communities again. For this government, this project is just chaos and confusion. If the government wants to prove to the people of Sydney that this road will work, it's time for them to offer some straight talk to the people of New South Wales. It's time to release the business case, it's time to release the environmental impact statement, it's time to release the traffic modelling and the cost-benefit analysis. The government says WestConnex will relieve congestion. Independent modelling says it won't. They say it will reduce pollution, apparently gently dispersing pollutants into the air like a weak shandy. But that's not backed up by health professionals. They say it will make money, that they will build the third stage using the toll proceeds, but there's no financial public data to support those claims. Let's be honest, that's why they've signed contracts without an environmental impact statement, because they know what it'll say. That's why they're moving ahead without planning approval, without a business case, because they know what it'll say. WestConnex is just a sham. It won't work. There is a better way. We can think about the people and the kind of city that we want to pass on to our kids. We can think and build a big, world-class public transport network that links both east and west and north and south. We can start locally. Let's think about connecting our cycling networks and walking paths. We can build a vision for a sustainable Sydney by encouraging people out of their cars and making public transport an affordable and effective option. I reiterate today that I am categorically opposed to it. I've been opposed to it from the very beginning. To the people of Haberfield and Ashfield and across the inner west, I stand with you shoulder to shoulder. We can solve Sydney's congestion and transport problems, but WestConnex is not the answer.
Speaker. But you support the project.
Mr Deputy Speaker.
Well, before I call the next speaker, I acknowledge that this is an emotive concern to the community in the gallery. However, I ask that the debate be heard in silence. The question is that the amendment as moved be agreed to. The member for Oakley rises and seeks leave.
Yes, by leave.
Is leave granted? Yes. Leave's granted.
Thank you,
member for Oakley.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. What we've seen today, it is quite clear that Labor is split when it comes to fixing the M5, fixing the M4 and getting on with the job of crushing this congestion that is all throughout Sydney, where the WestConnex will fix. This is an historic occasion, Mr Deputy Speaker. $15.4 billion project over the next 10 years. A 33-kilometre project that will see 52 lights bypassed, It will see the creation of 10,000 jobs, Mr Deputy Speaker, and more importantly, as the member for Oatley, Mr Deputy Speaker, it will see the fixing, the widening of the M5 East once and for all, Mr Deputy Speaker. People in my own electorate have complained that once the M5 was built, it was at capacity. It was at capacity almost every single time of the day. We are getting on with the job of continuing with what we had done already with the M5 West, and I note the member for East Hills here, who, like me, championed the widening of the M5 West. We are going to see with the M5 East the widening of that as well, and that will mean connecting families. It will mean people will be able to get home from work a lot quicker, a lot sooner, Mr Deputy Speaker. We are, of course, spending $1.8 billion from Restart New South Wales. The feds, from memory, have committed $1.5 billion to see WestConnex started once and for all. And only recently, I was joined with the member for East Hills and the Premier of New South Wales and the Roads Minister and the Prime Minister of Australia and the federal MPs and infrastructure. I didn't interject with you when you spoke. To see construction at the King George's Road interchange upgrade started 18 months ahead of schedule. The $130 million project will fix one of the city's worst bottlenecks. More than 40,000 Sydney motorists will have their travel times slashed. And of course, this is a vital project for part of what is really WestConnex Stage 2. 100,000 motorists who use the M5, Mr Deputy Speaker, each and every day. Nearly half of them get stuck on or at the King George's Road interchange. And we have started this project 18 months ahead of schedule, courtesy of the federal government and, of course, money from us as well. And I want to put on record my appreciation on behalf of my community that use the M5. I mean, I use the M5 like I did this morning to get into Parliament and to get home. And I used the train yesterday for that interjection. But, on behalf of my community and communities around the M5, I want to congratulate the great work the Roads Minister has done and the WestConnex Authority, because we're actually getting on with the job of fixing this bottleneck once and for all. It is a huge bottleneck that gets congested at that interchange there on King George's Road in WestConnex and throughout the tunnel as well. We are widening that. We're getting on with the job to ensure that these things are widened once and for all, to ensure that people can get home a lot quicker and get to work a lot quicker. It is all about breaking congestion, and we take WestConnex serious. It is an historic project that we on this side take serious, while Labor is opposing.
Mr Speaker.
Question is that the amendment as moved be agreed to.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to make a contribution.
Is leave granted?
Yes.
Leave's granted. I call the member for Sydney.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And can I begin by foreshadowing that I will be seeking to amend the amendment to replace all words after that this House with 1, notes the importance of scrutinising the WestConnex project, and 2, calls on the government to stop activity on the project until the business case and environmental impact statement has been made available for public scrutiny.
Good amendment.
The WestConnex project is Australia's biggest urban road project. It will widen and extend the M4 Western Motorway, create a new section of the M5 South Motorway and connect the two with new CBD bypass. The project will cost $15 billion, but many expect blowouts to increase the cost to $20 billion. I support the motion of the original motion of the member for Newtown, because at this time of escalating climate change, growing traffic congestion, eroding air quality and increasing obesity rates, when other countries are transferring their focus from new roads to public and active transport, a full business case and environmental impact statement process must determine whether WestConnex is in the public interest before it proceeds. The massive cost diverts much needed funds from much-needed public transport projects that could transform Sydney's sustainability and livability into the future. We have not seen a business case for the project, and documents and justifications are not publicly available. Contracts are being signed even though an environmental impact statement process has not been commenced. What we do know is that houses will be demolished and much needed open space will be lost. Last year, the City of Sydney commissioned an independent review of the project by SGS Economics and Planning, which concluded that WestConnex will not achieve its stated objective and will create serious impacts for inner Sydney. The majority of Western Sydney residents use public transport to get their jobs in the CBD, and this is the preference for increasing numbers of Sydney-siders. WestConnex will be a costly way to travel, with tolls costing around $20 a day, and the cost of parking once reaching the city $240 a week. This excludes the costs associated with petrol and car maintenance. Nobody wants car dependency, and Western Sydney residents would be better off with faster, less crowded and more reliable public transport. Plans for a 24-hour airport at Badgerys Creek will reduce freight load at Sydney Airport and reduce the need for freight links between the West and Sydney Airport. The argument that WestConnex will provide opportunity to renew Parramatta Road is now redundant, given the recent route changes involving a portal at Camperdown that will channel large volumes of traffic onto Parramatta Road near Sydney University. New vehicles will be spewed into many inner city suburbs, including an additional 10,000 in the CBD, where existing traffic levels already create congestion and historic streets are not designed to accommodate large volumes. The CBD will become unsafe for pedestrians and cyclists, and amenity will be eroded with global competitiveness at risk. The overwhelming evidence shows that more roads encourage more traffic. Roads are not the solution to congestion. The project must be reconsidered. Public transport and active transport should be the focus of transport needs. The community has not been provided with the information to properly assess the project, and the Auditor General has criticised the business case and raised concerns about conflicts of interest and lack of information to assess the project's viability. It is not too late. I commend the member for Newtown in her motion and join calls for activity to cease with information release and a real opportunity for public consultation. I commend the amendment to the House.
Order. Now, before any more debate, I'm ruling that amendment out of order because it is virtually what the original motion was. So the question is the amendment be agreed to. The member for Lakemba, seeks leave. Is leave granted?
Thank you.
Is leave granted? Leave's granted. Member for Lakemba.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'd like to speak in support of the original motion and against the amendment. Look, I just want to make it fairly clear that I don't want my words to be twisted here. This is not about denying the need to ease traffic congestion right across the metropolitan area. What this is about is seeking an immediate release of the business case and the environmental impact statement to allow for scrutiny of where it is so that it can be fair, independent and it can make an accurate determination. On June the 6th of this year, I attended a meeting of the Beverly Hills residential community where over 150 people deeply attended and they were deeply concerned about the impacts of the WestConnex project. There were varying degrees of support of the project, but what was overriding was the greater concern about how some were being treated by the WestConnex authority and government agencies. Some described the agency as being arrogantly dismissive. There are many pieces of legislation to govern New South Wales. One is the New South Wales Government Information or the Public Access Act. The object of the Act is to, and I quote, maintain and advance a system of responsible and representative democratic government that is open, accountable, fair and effective by encouraging the proactive public release of government information by agencies and giving members of the public an enforceable right to access government information. It further goes on to say that access is only to be restricted when there is an overriding public interest against disclosure. What I'm concerned about here is there an overriding public interest against disclosure? Because if there is, we've got something to worry about. And if there isn't, release the case as soon as possible. The people of Sydney, particularly communities directly impacted by the broader WestConnex project, deserve proper and genuine consultation and, wherever possible, accommodation of what in most cases are very reasonable requests. Some of the requests that I picked up for that meeting were like these. The need for substantial noise walls installed at positions that allow landscaping and reduce visual impact. Recognition of the impact that rat runners requiring some speed traffic restriction measures. Maximum use of high quality landscaping. Installation of community facilities in the many spaces along the M5 Linear Park, including playground equipment, circuit exercise equipment, picnic and barbecue facilities. These requests do not prevent the M5 upgrade development, but they seek to enhance the local community as a display of goodwill between between the authority and residents who are significantly inconvenienced by this. Since then, and in the recent days, there's been the same people in the community have asked me to ensure that this business case be released and that we ask for a complete environmental impact statement. And construction ceased until the public and independent experts have had the opportunity to review this. This will alleviate the concern that there is something to hide. The WestConnex own website talks about construction of the M5 King George's Road interchange upgrade as being fast-tracked by up to 18 months. What pressure is fast-tracking putting on various agencies to cut corners, accept overly generous assumptions in reports, and work to rule when it comes to some of the meeting of the bare requirement of the consultation process? And I've got a bigger concern. It's a broader picture about the sheer lack of real integrated long-term thinking. So many of our constituents have very real concerns about air quality at these large motorways absorb more and more traffic. Who's focused on the fleet of cars, of cleaning up the fleet of cars, trucks and buses on these motorways? Who's driving industry to deliver cleaner standards? We know that a quarter of Sydney's bus fleet is more than 12 years old, well past their use-by date. The government's own decommissioning rules. How can a project commence and continue without a business case? Where's the planning? I trust this is not an ad hoc situation, and I call upon the Minister to use his discretion to ensure that consultation is genuine and extended, to take all steps to ensure maximum transparency, and to release the business case and environmental impact statement as soon as possible for the full set of the WestConnex project.
The question is the amendment be agreed to.
Deputy Speaker, Acting Speaker, I seek leave to make a contribution.
Leave is sought, is leave granted. Yes. I call the member for Heffron.
Mr Acting Speaker, I support the motion and the amendment that's being scrawled out here at the moment with my consultation, with my concurrence, because the motion simply asks for a proper planning process to apply to Australia's. Might I just have a moment so I can check? All right, do you want me to move this? I move an amendment, Mr Acting Speaker, that add to the motion that this House calls on the government to immediately release all planning and strategy documents to the community relating to the WestConnex. Mr Acting Speaker, my views in relation to the WestConnex are well known. I have spoken about it in this House repeatedly and published material since it was first released in 2012. However, the matter that has caused me the greatest difficulty and the greatest difficulty to my electorate relates to the St Peters interchange, because that is going to have a catastrophic effect not only on my electorate but also electorates such as the electorate of Coogee. I thank the Minister for Roads, the Honourable Duncan Gay, who is prepared to constantly listen to my views and the consequences. But as I pointed out to the Minister in a meeting several months ago, it is not just a disaster coming from the St Peters interchange, but a catastrophe. The volumes of vehicles that will be travelling, particularly east, will filter through to all of the eastern parts of inner Sydney. It will filter through into Mascot, East Lakes, Kensington, Kingsford, through to the University of New South Wales, through to Erskineville, through to Alexandria. You're talking about 50,000 vehicles. And as I pointed out to the Minister, the gridlock or catastrophe that is going to unfold, he will not be able to solve. No government will be able to solve. There's no space to put roads or no way to move that traffic once he creates the catastrophe. Now, what I've asked the Minister to do, because every time I see him, he's got these bankers and other people with the WestConnex Delivery Authority who are bankers and business people, I want the RMS to do some traffic modelling, because I'm sure what I'm saying is right. I want traffic engineers from the government to actually look at this particular proposal. The one issue in the brief time I have left I want to raise relates to the location of the proposed St Peters interchange. There have been people racing around my electorate saying asbestos has been illegally removed, and the same stuff has come from the member for Newtown in this House. Now, the reality of the situation is a cursory inquiry will indicate that the EPA issued clean-up notices to the proprietors of the Alexandria tip in 2011 to 2014 to remove contaminated material, and there has been work cover supervision, and the removal of asbestos and other material has been occurring for the last 4 years. As far as I'm concerned, I want that insidious substance removed from my electorate. It's been occurring for 4 years and will continue to occur. Now I've asked a question about the current licensing regime, but the approvals are occurred with worst cover supervision. I have people panicking living near that site for very good reason, because I have people being put in fear by the disastrous conduct of people that have been protesting about this issue. It's one thing to protest about an issue genuinely because of its concern. It is another to disgracefully put people in fear of their own health simply to add to your views about a particular project.
The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Will we get someone in reply? Right, the member for Newtown in reply.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. I'd like to acknowledge and thank the members for Parramatta, Strathfield, Drummoyne, Balmain, Castle Hill, Summerhill, Oakley, Lakemba, Heffron and Sydney for their contribution to this debate. And I would particularly like to thank those on this side for the collaboration and connection that we have shown to want to support good governance and transparency, even though it's clear that we may not all agree on all aspects. The Premier has said in this place that the 33 kilometres of WestConnex will make an incredible difference to people's lives. He has said that it will bypass 52 sets of traffic lights, take 3,000 trucks a day off Parramatta Road, 40 minutes saving in travel times, and an overall $20 billion benefit to the New South Wales economy. It is impossible for us to verify whether any of these claims are true, because the Premier and this government will not share any of the information or documents that allegedly support these claims. If we are talking about investing $15.4 billion of public money into addressing Sydney's congestion problems, then we should be asking what is the best solution. Allowing an exploration into world-class public transport options to be put up in comparison to an open and transparent business case with all of the analysis and modelling for WestConnex would be something that you would expect from a government that believes that this is the answer. If it's the answer, what is there to hide? I'll give you two specific examples from publicly available government information which point to why we have serious concerns. The first might interest the member for Parramatta, who talked about the travel times for members in his electorate. Without WestConnex, Parramatta to the CBD will take approximately 64 minutes. With WestConnex, it'll take 44 minutes. But he doesn't mention, and neither does the WestConnex Delivery Authority, that by train, it currently takes 17 minutes. Similarly, Parramatta to the airport is 40 minutes by train. By car with WestConnex, 66 minutes. I'm sure that all of those tradespeople and people that need to use the roads would love it if the member for Parramatta would actually encourage those that want to catch the train to get off the roads so that those that need to use the roads are freed up from the congestion and those that live in his area are provided with efficient and effective public transport. And this doesn't even factor in the tolls and the costs that it will have to people across the 33-kilometre route. But what about the long-term benefits? The New South Wales Government Department of Planning and Environment report on WestConnex M4 widening of December 2014 said that by the government's own measures, that Sydney's road speeds will fall from 34 kilometres an hour today to 28 kilometres an hour. That's right, fall, they will reduce the speed as a result of WestConnex being built. These are just two examples of why we have serious concerns about this project going ahead without the proper business case, without the traffic modelling, without the environmental impact statements. If the business case and the environmental impact statements stack up, then show it to us so that it strengthens your argument. If they are not finished yet, then stop going ahead and signing away contracts, acquiring people's home and undertaking construction before those clear and important governance and planning processes have been put in place. Today, we have talked about WestConnex in this House. We have called for good governance, and I hope that the government will join us in supporting this motion in the interest of transparency.
Time has expired. The original motion was moved by the member for Newtown, upon which the member for Castle Hill has moved an amendment, upon which the member for Heffron has proposed a further amendment. The question, therefore, is that the amendment to the amendment be agreed to. All those of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. No. I think the ayes have it. No. Fine. Division call.
So we get up and go over there, right? Yep.
That's a second sentence.
I don't think it's not exactly the same. But I thought it's good at the top. It's pretty cute.
Great work, boys. I think he's enjoying social. He's enjoying.
Tell us for the ayes, member for Campbelltown, member for Cabramatta. Tell us for the ayes, member for Canada, member for Myra. The result of the division is ayes 38, noes 46. The motion, therefore the motion is negated. The question now is that the amendment from the member for Castle Hill be agreed to. All those of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. Aye. I think the ayes have it. Aye. Division called. Due to
that was quicker, Lee.
With level the whips, the time for the division will be 1 minute.
Voice is shut. All members should be seated in their chairs.
That'll take a minute, that'll be fine.
No, but that's a rule.
Yeah, but
if you're not sitting in your car, they can tell you.
They got 50 seconds, they'll sit. It's 1 minute, guys, so take a seat.
Yeah, Chris, just be careful of that, because that's the rule. But when the gate's shut, if you're not sitting in your chair, they can say you're out. So be careful of that, and 1 minute maybe just not enough for them to change sides. Be careful.
Very nice. It's not the real size, like I'll be thinking of it.
Lock the doors. Tell us for the ayes, member for Camden, member for Myra. Tell us for the ayes, member for Cabramatta, member for Campbelltown. Well, the result of the division is ayes 46, noes 38. The amendment is passed. The question now is that the motion as amended be agreed to. All those in that opinion say aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The clerk will read the next order of business.